We have on the podcast today someone who is a fellow Greensboro JC with me, Daughtry. For 15 years, Dana battled addiction and homelessness, but was able to find a new path leading to a career in the city he loves. The support he received from others and the accomplishments he made inspired him to begin his organization, Gate City 180, which helps others who are in the same situation he was, helping the homeless. And his story has been featured on the City of Greensboro News and WFMY News. Dana, how are you today?
Doing great, and you?
I'm doing good. The first question I wanted to ask was that you obviously have faced a lot of adversity and have been able to get past a lot of adversity. And after that moment when you decided to seek a different path in life, were there moments you had when you doubted whether you would accomplish and go through with what you were doing? And how did you deal with those if you did have them?
I think anything challenging, you're going to have doubts.
Right.
And there were, because for so long I lived a certain way of life. But I knew I wanted more of a new way of life more than anything else. Mm-hmm. So I was willing to face those doubts, those fears, those criticisms, those closed doors, the adversity, the obstacles, and everything I had to do to live a new way of life. Because I had been beat up so much in active addiction, I was like, this is, what can be harder than that? Trying to survive homelessness, 15 years in and out of prison, being kidnapped and stripped butt naked and beat at a hotel, known for the violence and the drug use.
Right.
So I was like, man, you survived all that, you can about face anything. And I just took that notion. So when I did have those setbacks, those challenges, I would just remember where I came from. And, I just remember, like, man, you worked hard out here to get high. Than what you're facing right now. I have to do some self-reflection.
So you can definitely work hard to build a new life.
Yeah. Because there were times I was like, I think for me, the games that I endured with people not in that way of life, the drug culture.
Right.
And I seen some of the same type of ways of people and the games being played. And it kind of took me back. I remember talking with my mentor, and I said, man, these people ain't playing dope fiend games. They ain't even on dope. And
wow. The same types of, manipulation.
Manipulation, trying to throw you under the bus. I mean, it was, and I was like, almost, in a way, I can understand if you're getting high, you having this type of way. Maybe because I've been away, from a productive member of society for so long that all I knew was that type of life, that's the people I just identified with doing those things. And forgot that people are people regardless. So it was like almost a culture shock. I was like, man, y'all playing.
And the opposite, it's a culture shock of how similar things can be.
I used to say, man, I can understand if you're on dope and you trying to play dope. I forgive you quicker than somebody ain't on dope. At least I know why you doing it. But I was just like, So I had to learn to understand, well, maybe after doing, staying in recovery, I learned that people display different behaviors for different reasons. And it don't have to just be because they're on drugs.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. The next question I want to ask is about what the city of Greensboro does in partnership with its various nonprofits and what the county does in partnership with nonprofits. Because I've met many people who are frustrated that Greensboro not only isn't doing enough, but that the resources that they are investing, giving to nonprofits, aren't effective. For example, I once went to a city council meeting where the nonprofit the city had hired was just getting grilled by all the councilors because they had already spent a large sum of money, only to discover later that there was an environmental issue which would set the project back and cost far more. And it seemed to me like they kind of sort of knew that the issue was there, but weren't proactive speaking up about it, because they knew that then that would give them leverage to just ask the city for more. Another example is when I talked to some friends in GSO, and I don't have Instagram or use social media anymore, but when I followed their Instagram, they would always post things about, wow, now they're creating bars so that people can't even rest here, or they're increasing the penalties for loitering to make it harder for the homeless, and things of that nature. What should the role of government be in addressing homelessness, and why are there these dissatisfactions that keep occurring?
I think one thing with dissatisfaction with anything, somebody who's not in those shoes always knows better.
Hmm.
And it's always easy to point the finger at who's not doing what. And I think the problem is the right relationships and partnerships are not formed. Where you're looking at, well, you had the money, you have the power, this is what you need to be doing. Well, great kings have wise counsel. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if you look at, you have counsel that has a lot of wisdom, which a lot of people, I don't think, realize that homelessness is very unique. Each individual has a different need. Yeah, they all facing homelessness. This individual might need a ID. This individual might need a social security card. This individual may need housing.
Right.
This individual has mental health. This individual has something. But you try to put it all together and think one thing is going to work. It's take multiple people, multiple organizations to help this homelessness situation that we have. I do think funds can be allocated better, but that will happen when the knowledge comes. Okay, like, and I'm never going to put names out there, about any nonprofit because, I'm not working for them. I'm not there.
I see.
But I do know sometimes we take on with great plans, but a lot of critical thinking hasn't been done. Like if you open up for more hours, you might as well expect more people to start coming. Right. You start expecting more people to come when you have all these outside issues that these people are dealing with, whether it's personality, whether it's substance abuse, mental health, homelessness, fight for survival. You're taking all this in and you don't have the right personnel staff to address these issues, then guess what? It won't be effective. Now, case in point, I talked to a couple of staff members from certain nonprofits that the city has, helped out or is helping out or funding, whatever, how you want to do it. The lady told me, she said, I didn't qualify for an apartment because I didn't make enough. So if you got staff in there, one paycheck away from being homeless themselves, then this problem is bigger than what everybody's taking to be. Right. I've been to, some city council meetings. I've been listening to them, and I said, everybody's going up there. It's like, I get their passion, and I get that they're upset. They've had it. But going up there for 3 minutes saying you ain't doing this, it's not helping those who need the help. I see. We need to find better ways of communicating with each other. I mean, whether you like the city or not, city council or not, we have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, y'all, this is what I think. Come up there with a plan. Right. Say, hey, I went and did research in this city and found out they're actually, like, the city of Houston is hiring people right off the street. I forgot how much they pay them. But they pay them above minimum wage. Wow. And they pick them up and take them out and they work. Help keep the city clean. These are some of the things we can adopt. Or travel to a place like over there. I'll use California because I went out there. And here compared to there, it's no comparison. Like, I was just, It's a whole different level. Yes. And I was like, it's not that bad, but I said, it don't take much to get there. I think more relationships has to be built. More bridges have to be built instead of walls.
And people need to understand that there's no, one solution. What's the word? Like a one pill to fix everything solution.
Yeah, it's not. It's going to be multiple. It has to take multiple, solutions to help what's going on. We could go back and forth saying you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Yeah, we all can do better. Even myself as a person, I'm out there and I have to deal with individuals one-on-one. Right. I have about even with myself, my own organization, I have about 6 people, and everybody is different, and you have to go about serving each one differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're facing some of the same issues. This one may have been bullied as a child, so he has anger issues. So when something don't go his way at work, he's not able to, you know, counteract in a professional manner because, you know, like I've told him, man, you're going to have people try you all the time. You can't just get mad and always threaten when that happens.
I see.
You know, or I got this person, she's doing everything she can. She has all her documents. Well, guess what? A couple of interviews she went on, she never heard anything back. And she's done everything she's supposed to do. And then you find out why, and it's like, really? You ain't got opportunity, you know? Or it's just so many different things of why things just don't work at the snap of a finger. There's no overnight solution.
I see.
Yeah, I agree. We can do better with certain funds. I've even said, voiced my opinions, like, hey, some of the money that has been spent, you know, get that money to some of these nonprofits that help people get housing. Right. Because if a person who's on the street still has to pay for application fees, they have to go through a criminal check, credit check, deposit. It costs a lot of money just to So it's just like me and you who have a career or a business, they have to go through the same process.
I see.
You know, then you may move a group of individuals from one location, but if you don't have a place for them to go, guess what? You don't have the same problem there. Right. So it's like you're just moving problems from over there.
I see.
And it's not
It's just covering it up. It's not solving it.
I think one of the things is everybody trying to fix homelessness, but they're not trying to find out why homelessness is happening anyway, to a certain extent.
So people are coming in with their assumptions and trying to make that.
Yeah, what makes a person just say, you know what, I'd rather live outside than actually live in a structured environment? I've had those conversations.
And what do they say?
It would be a hindrance. To be able to have to take on that responsibility of having a house key, turning the lights off, turning the water off, checking the mailbox.
And it's more liabilities.
Yeah, if you don't have case management, making sure that on the first of the month, those who do qualify, who have monthly income to pay their rent, making sure they have somebody there with them to go to the bank, get the cashier's check. Because they're not used to it. You take somebody been out there 15 years, it's all new to them.
Right. Like that itself is like learning for a new job.
Right. And it's almost like, man, I got to do this. I'd rather be out here. And that has happened.
Right.
Because if you don't have personnel, case management, following up with people at least bi-weekly, every other week, the people will fall back through the cracks and wind up back out here homeless.
I see.
So I think it's people having this mind like, okay, if we open this up and open that up, then that'll be no, it won't. Because people's mindset has to be changed.
I see.
For me, my mother allowed me to move back in.
Right.
When I got out of prison, August 4, 2014. Therefore, I didn't have to worry about bills. I didn't have to worry about food. I didn't have to worry about even clothes.
Right.
Only thing I had to do was focus on what my parole officer gave me. And by that, I didn't have this overhead of things I had to take care of. I was able to focus on what I needed to do to live a new way of life. So my transition from what I was to who I am was a whole lot easier. Everybody don't have a Michelle Daughtry like my mother. Everybody don't have a mentor like I have. Everybody don't have a sponsor.
No.
So these are the things that help me get from there to here. That's why Gate City 180 was started. That's why I do the work I do. Because I understand the difference of having a job interview and you don't even have toothpaste and toothbrush. Make sure your breath smell good. So now you folks like, I hope they don't smell breath. And you try to get this position. You get what I'm saying?
I get it.
Or if you do get a position, let's say you get a position at Highway 55. You gotta buy your uniform. And you coming out of a treatment center, you coming out of prison or the street or whatever.
So you have no money to buy.
And you got no money, no family, no resources. How you gonna get that?
There has to be flexibility. It's like rather than earmarking funds for specific purposes because you can't predict beforehand what the need will be.
My organization, we had a brunch Saturday.
Right.
We was talking about different things, and somebody made a comment, man, it could work.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, so let me ask all of y'all this. You own a business, or you a supervisor, would you hire them?
It's a different question.
It's a different question. I said, now, you may say yeah real quick, but think about it. I said, because you were saying they can work from a physical aspect, but from a mental, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him the story about the guy who was working, who'd been bullied,
Mm-hmm.
who didn't know how to respond when things got rough at work.
Hmm.
You know, I said some of these people had that street survival mentality.
Right.
So let's say somebody gets snobby. We all dealt with that in our professional career.
Of course, yes.
This person ain't never dealt with nobody. They might, man, go upside their head. You get what I'm saying?
I get it.
But so you gotta look at when you say that, you know, so that I always say we need a liaison to help people transition from being out here on the street, coming out of prison, treatment, to getting back into society. I say, because sometimes when you throw people out there, you throw them out there for failure because they don't know how to adapt. They don't know how to address issues that may come up. You know, somebody might be having their coworker might be having a bad day and might have, you know, answered them in a way they didn't like and they taking it personal.
Right.
But they don't understand that people have bad days too.
Right.
You know, just because they're not, you know, from where you're from, they have bad days too.
I see.
So yeah, it has to be that.
I want to ask you the same question I asked to Chase Oliver, the Libertarian candidate who's running for president. Because from the conversations I've had with homeless people in Greensboro, something that strikes me as particularly unjust and a particularly difficult hurdle for them is that employers and landlords can legally discriminate based on the person having a criminal history for as long as it's on their record. I believe this pushes people back onto the streets because if they can't get the first job and they can't get the first entry point back into this society, then it becomes a catch-22 for them. Would you agree with that?
I would say this. Holding a person's criminal record against them after a person has served their time,
right,
has done everything to do to better themselves, in a way is, to me, inhumane.
Right, I agree.
You get what I'm saying? Like, you send this person to prison.
Because it's perpetual punishment if it's continuously held against them.
You put punishment on top of punishment.
Yes.
And I get it. Now, it should be, you know, there's some things you may need to check for. But if this person, let's say, had a felony marijuana charge 4 years ago. Right. But it's not violent. Why would you say, nah, because, and this person has proven within 4 years that since they're charged, they haven't gotten in any trouble, has held employment consistently, has been a person, a service in their community, because that happened. Right.
Even after they've had employment.
Even after they've done all it. My mentor was facing more time at one time than he had to live. And the judge went lenient on him. And he moved from Baltimore to down here.
I see.
Started working.
Yes.
And seen a commercial to go back to school. He went to Guilford College.
Good. What did he study?
And got a degree in criminal justice. Guess what? Because his record, he can't use that degree. What better person to have in the criminal justice field than somebody who had a record, who straightened their life out, went and got a degree, and now able to help those that are
in the same situation.
Right. So it's an ugly thing all the way around when you really think about it. Like, a better person to have is somebody who had that experience, who knows about being in and out of prison, ran the streets, and now is a pillar of the community and has a degree in criminal justice. But he didn't let that stop him. He started his own nonprofit.
I feel as if, you know, AI becomes more prevalent as a tool. And so rather than humans taking the first look as a job application, instead it's machines taking the first look at the job application, that problem might get worse because machines don't see the story. They only see which boxes you checked, yes or no. And so I wonder, honestly, if things will get worse for people trying to turn their life around in the age of hyper surveillance, in the age of digital trails. Yeah, it's hypothetical. I don't expect.
Now we got
Yeah, because I don't know.
That's been convicted of felonies,
right,
running for president. It's going to bring up a lot of great discussions at certain tables.
That's true.
Because it's like, okay, does this person potentially become president, and they have felony on their record? How is he going to say, well, now we can't allow you to work here because you have a felony record? But yes,
that's a good point.
We got the most powerful man in office with a felony, but you trying to tell me I can't work at such and such?
That might be a very good catalyst for change.
Yeah. It actually already has started.
I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, people are already like, you know, you mean to tell me I can have a felony, I can run for president? But then you tell me I can't rent this apartment because I have a felony.
I see.
You tell me I can't gain this employment because of a felony. But yeah, still, I can run for president with a felony. So it's going to bring up a lot of discussions. It already has. But yeah, I think it's overbearing, you know, for you to have served your time, paid your debt to society, pay whatever court costs, court fines. I mean, you know, I was my parole officer's first client to successfully complete parole.
And how long have they been working as a parole officer?
She had been working for a while. And I remember a couple months before I was complete parole, she said, there's this award ceremony that all my coworkers have gone to. I'm the only one who went. And I looked there and said, you want to go? Because I was tired. I was like gingerbread man. Catch me if you can. If you release me out of prison or jail or court on probation, I was off to the races. I didn't, you know, check in like I was supposed. I mean, and it's amazing. Years later, one of my coworkers is actually one of her great good friends from the parole office.
Wow, I see.
That heard about me and, you know, kind of tell me on y'all jacket, it's everything's documented about how y'all are. I said, well, I already knew how I was. And you take somebody who go through something like that, and then you throw this barrier up because they got a felon, it can lead them back out there. For me, I took the first employment I could get, and I was working as a day laborer.
Yes.
Making $7.25 an hour. And my mindset was, in jail, I worked in the kitchen for an extra tray of meal, 10 to 12 hours a day.
Right.
And I'm not saying this for everybody, because some people got child support to pay.
Right.
Some people got bills to pay. So that $7.25 might not be enough for them. I was able to take it, find out what I needed to do, and one of the things I learned at welfare reform when I finished my track there, as far as HVAC and construction, one thing we learned in interviews is always ask questions. And then in the interview, I asked her, I said, is this opportunity to go full time? She was like, yeah. Because I had two choices.
Yes.
Either construction or yard waste removal. Yard waste removal was with the city. Throwing them heavy, sweaty grass bags in the back of the truck.
Right. And
they was amazed that I took that position. And the reason why I took it because I was like, that's going to help me get in the city.
Right.
You gotta look at it, I worked at Roll Squad while I was in prison.
Right.
And one of the things that the crew leader told me a couple of days before I was released was, he said, if you go apply yourself like you have been working with me, man, you'll be able to do anything.
Yes.
I remember that. And, you know, each door I went and knocked at, it might not open up right then, but it eventually opened. I remember one time I didn't even get sent out to work that day, and the lady came back in. I almost went back home, went to sleep.
Right.
Someone said, "No, sit down." Lady said, "Damn, I ain't seen you out." I said, "No." Right then, she got a phone call. Somebody needed a replacement. That replacement wound up eventually becoming my mentor. I wound up becoming full-time in his section.
That's fantastic.
Right.
Right.
Now, what if I had went home?
You wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have been in mine.
Right. Right. So you have to, even still, the individual who is looking for a new way, like, have to have that no matter what attitude.
Right.
Like, I'm going to get through this. No matter if they close the door, they tell me no, I'm just going to keep knocking. I'm going to keep coming.
I see.
You know, there's a lot of people out here who have records that overcame those closed doors in employment. They're like, oh, you want to hire me? I'm going to open up my own business. Might take me longer than I wanted to, but I'm going to do it.
Right. I see. The next question I want to ask is, with public services, for example, places like schools, parks, and shared public areas, since the city invests money in those, there's a concept I heard of called the right to the city, right? The right to be in public. How can we make sure that these places are not places that further alienate people and cause them to feel stigmatized or perhaps have mental health problems? For me, high school was a pretty alienating place, and some people were supportive, some professors were supportive, some teachers and administrators just were not. And I kind of felt like that there's this irony that these public services are supposed to be here to help people, but maybe we're making public services and these public areas in a way where it furthers stigmatization, or it repeats cycles of stigmatization. I wonder if you have thoughts on that.
I think people don't understand.
Right.
And what people don't understand, they tend to not deal with.
Right.
And then not dealing with it, you kind of alienate yourself away from it. I say you have to get educated on why people are the way they are, or what their situation is, because there is a stigma that people are homeless because they're lazy or they're drug addicts. Well, they're self-medicating. It's actually cheaper for some people to get a street drug than a prescription.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Nobody's talking about the cost of prescription, being highway robbery, but you want to talk about the man, getting. And I'm not saying it's right to do it, but I'm saying you gotta really be in there to understand. Like, it's easier for this person to go get a beer than him to go to CVS and get his prescription.
Yeah, I see.
And then it becomes a pattern, addictive, and that's all they know. Some people just don't want to face reality for whatever reason. Right. And they use the drugs to suppress that. Right. Not to deal with it. But all the time they're bringing on more problems. And then when you see some people, because I hear it, why I'm going to give them $1? I ain't going to do nothing but go buy a beer. If you don't want to give them $1, just don't give them $1. You ain't got to say that. I see. And I'm not saying everybody has to, but open up your ears and heart a little bit more to those in need. Right. And I don't get along with everybody that I serve. Believe me, I just had somebody hit me last week.
Wow, that's a lot to take.
You know what I'm saying?
I see.
Mad because of some documents he waiting on, and I'm like, I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Wow. You're very patient for dealing with that.
Yeah, and you have to say, okay, to some people, I'm a miracle worker, to some people, I'm not. And you have to be okay with that. There are things that, even to this day, I'm still learning about individuals, how to deal with individuals that, you can say, well, I'm just like this. If I don't understand something, I'm not going to alienate myself. I'm going to educate myself.
Yes.
I do say that I think people need to understand that when the city does do something, like, let's say at the park, you hear a lot of, well, the city doing this, they're making a move. Well, let me ask you something. If you got a place of business, or you got a property that you own, and somebody was keeping it trashy, and all that, what would you do?
I wouldn't want them there, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep the streets clean, you want to keep the sidewalks clean. And I tell the individuals that are dwelling in these places, hey, The more you keep your area clean, the less you're gonna have interaction, less phone calls or complaints coming. Most of the complaints come because of a lot of dwelling and a lot of the trash that comes from the dwelling. You know, when you're out there and you see people maybe 3 feet from a trash can, but they still ready to throw the bottle on the ground and don't care. Or you tell them, hey, the reason why a lot of complaints come because all this trash. Well, it ain't my trash. But y'all's the one here.
Right.
You know, keep your area clean. So even with that, you have to get them to say, hey, man, be responsible for your area.
Right, I see.
And with that, I talked to a guy and I told him, you know, man, if y'all was to keep the area clean, yada, yada, man, start keeping the area clean. Don't you know that man wound up getting employment because he used keeping the area clean as a way to build up self-confidence.
I see.
Give himself some pride.
That's powerful.
So sometimes you have to be able to figure out a way to maneuver and finesse it, like, all right. Because I know with me, when I got out of prison, I wasn't working, but I would rake leaves, I would cut grass, I would wash the car. Matter of fact, I used to cut my mom's grass about twice a week, so it stayed cut.
Extra low, I see.
I even house sit, you know, I watched dogs when people went out of town.
Right.
Until I got employment.
Just stay busy.
Stay busy. So imagine you giving somebody something productive to do and they feel great about it. Then that gives them confidence. You know what, man? I've been doing this for about 3 months, man. Let me go ahead and apply. You never know.
I see.
So you got to find ways of giving people hope at the same time.
Right.
Those who are mentally able and physically able, because we have a lot of people that are, you know, disabled physically, and disabled mentally, that, you know, you have to take other type of measures with. And this thing is bigger than city council and all the nonprofits.
It's cultural, is what you're saying.
It's going to have to be a collaborative effort. Like, not saying, okay, I gave you this money, this is what you're supposed to do with it, and be done with it. It's like, if you want to have a successful business, you're going to have to be in that business. Right? You're going to have to know the business, how the business works. Same thing. And people don't get that. That's why Gay City 180 is, you know, successful at what we do. Right. Because a lot of the team members have walked that path. I walked that path. Did it for 15 years. So there are things that come up that we have to address that if we wasn't relatable to it, or didn't have an understanding, we wouldn't deal with it. Funny as I get a phone call. Guy's at a treatment center. And he wants treatment. Well, the doctor prescribes him a prescription for $120. His sister is only able to cover $30 of it. The guy was actually about to just go without the prescription and just tough it out. Now, he was willing to go through withdrawals to stay in treatment. Right. Do you think that person would have been able to stay and focus on treatment, going through the withdrawals, if you know anything about coming off any opiates?
No, I don't think they would have been able to focus. The physical would have taken him out of it.
So by us having an understanding, we was able to cover the other 90, and that person was able to finish to stay in that treatment center.
I see.
So there are little things like that make a difference in a person's life, you know. And if you got such a big population of people experiencing homelessness in one area, it's going to take more than what it's taking. And I think people just need to say, let's put our differences together. How can we help the person that we are here fussing about in the first place? And me telling you what you need to be doing and not saying it in a way that is going to actually inspire you to do it. You know, if I come here, Roman, you need to take all these stickers off your, you ain't going to listen to me. Right. Like, man, that joke crap, I'm putting one on tonight when I get home. But I'm saying, hey, Roman, you know, if you want to do this and do this, your podcast can be better. You're going to be more acceptable to it.
Of course. Much more.
Yeah.
My next question is, what are your thoughts on harm reduction approaches to treatment for addiction, or the philosophy of harm reduction?
It's needed.
In general, it's needed.
It's needed. I think people are too easy looking at it as a way for people to get high. But let me tell you, in Asheboro a few years ago.
Right.
I went to an event, and it was to raise money for the opiate problem in the Asheboro Randolph area.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there. I was a speaker, and I sat there and I listened to mothers talk about the phone call they got about their daughter who went to work at Taco Bell was found dead in the bathroom, or the prom queen who got addicted to drugs. In this setting, it was so sad. I was like, and I got to go up here and speak after all this. What can I say? When I got up there, there was a lot of police officers.
Right.
I just dove in. I said, I can't believe I'm not nervous with this many guns and badges up here. And everybody laughed because they kind of heard my background,
right,
my criminal background. And I had to break the ice. And the reason why I said all that is people are against harm reduction, but wait, have you ever heard the mother scream on the other end of the phone when they find out their child has died?
I see.
Or have you ever heard the mother gratitude that Narcan was in play
yes,
to help keep their child alive? Have you ever been to a recovery meeting when that person picks up their 1-year chip and they started recovering from an overdose, what they would say about Narcan? So you have to look at it not from a point of they giving clean. That's keeping down a lot of the diseases out here.
Right.
And I get it. People are like, well, let's give them an excuse to you. Well, it's also stopping a lot of stuff.
Right.
You can take a hammer. You can take it to hang up a wall, hang up a picture on the wall, or you can take a hammer, go out, and bust somebody's window.
I see.
So what a person decides to do is up to them. Hopefully you pray that they use it for the right reasons.
Right.
And that will lead them to eventually recovery or treatment. Whatever.
I see. Dana, these are all the questions I have for you. But do you have any questions for me about the podcast or what I'm doing?
Man, I already know you're doing great things. Keep it going. You're young. Keep that passion.
Thank you.
Always look for a way to serve.
Thank you. I will.
Use your voice. Use your platform. Bring awareness. Bring people together. You have a platform that can bring groups that may be going back and forth at city council meetings, that you can bring them together. Say, you know,
it's true.
How can we bring to do this? You know.
It's less profitable than making sort of angry videos to get viral, because one of the things about podcasting,
you gotta do that, right?
That's the podcast. It's so interesting. The internet amplifies emotions that are naturally contagious, because, say, for example, it is natural to gossip. It is natural to share anger. Yeah. But then social media came and made that natural human tendency worse because it amplified it.
Our brains, we were wired for negativity.
Right.
Have you ever... I tell people, I don't watch the news. Only reason why I hear it because my grandmother had me blasting because she has hearing aids. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to go in there and just hit it on mute because she ain't hearing it anyway. So...
I see.
And, you know, I try to not tune in. I stay informed, but I only allow myself to not go down so many rabbit holes.
Right.
Because then people don't realize psychologically it's going to affect you. If you're watching people get bombed out every day, if you're watching people go through some terrible life crisis, it can psychologically affect you and your spirit. And in this work we do, we have to do self-care.
Yes.
You know, you have to be able to dive in, help people, and then go do something for yourself.
Yes.
Because if you get burnt out and you get weary, you're not going to be of service to anybody.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Dana, this was Philosophisn't. Thank you for joining. This is it for today. And I wish you well. We're going to be in touch because we're both JCs. And good luck.
I'm an honorary member, by the way.
Honorary member of the JCs.
Yeah, the relationship I started with the JCs, that's what I'm talking about, relationship.
Right.
Has helped Gate City 180 grow. And I just told them my story back in 2018. Mm-hmm. And they loved what I did. They proposed to finance an event. And ever since then, we've been partnering every year since then.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't actually know that. But, well, I didn't know the full details of that.
I met Jack Beard at a podcast.
You did?
Like my first podcast.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, I want you to come tell your story to a group of people. And in my mind, I'm just going to tell my story to a group of people. Maybe they come and help volunteer.
And that's how it started?
And Brandon, at the time, was president. So I proposed we donate $1,000 to his cause. But at the time, I didn't have a nonprofit. I had my business, Daughtry 180. That's what we do. We sell T-shirts, and we take the proceeds and give back to those experiencing homelessness. And then 2020, when COVID hit, people weren't buying T-shirts. They were still in need. I called up Elon Law School, gave them my vision. They did my paperwork pro bono. I paid the state fees, gave the city 180, became an official nonprofit August 4th, 2021. But we've been moving as a nonprofit for the past 7 years, even not as a state recognized nonprofit.
I see. Dan, I like this conversation, but I do have another meeting at 6:30. Plus, it's getting too loud to continue anyway. I don't know how the recording will be. Yeah, like them. All right.
Yeah.
That's the JC's committee meeting. I didn't realize.